Mercedes has added a creamy entry layer to their entire range with the addition of their hatchbacks, the most recent of which, of course, has been the A-Class. And what we've got on hand here is the A-Class 180 CDI. It aims to strengthen and widen the A-Class's appeal. So, the badge says A180 CDI, and if you ordered it in Europe, you would get a 1.5 litre diesel motor. But here in India, things are a bit different. So, here what we've got actually is a 2.2 litre 4-cylinder diesel engine that we have seen in other Mercs before, badged as a 220 and 250. But difference here is that over here it's sitting sideways instead of longitudinally how it normally sits in other Mercs, because this is a front wheel drive car. And the other thing is that this engine is being used here in India because it can cope with the fuel quality, the lower fuel quality, much better than the ones in use in Europe. Now the motor has been detuned for use here in the MFA platform and here in the A-Class. So here in the A-Class, the motor develops 107 bhp, which is nearly 100 bhp down on the new E-Class. And there's 25.5 kilograms of torque, which is again half of what's on offer on the E. Now the power and torque may not be what you'd expect in a luxury car that costs well over 20 lakh rupees, but this car certainly isn't low on tech. It packs a 7-speed dual clutch transmission. So, how does it perform? Now the good thing about having a big displacement motor is it doesn't have to work all that hard to get you results. There's virtually no turbo lag. Even in the city when you're driving around, you will not feel short of responsiveness. And the gearbox is really quite handy at low speeds. It shifts gears quickly and smoothly, giving you just the responsiveness you need. There's virtually no turbo lag. Even in the city when you're driving around, you will not feel short of responsiveness. In our rolling acceleration tests, the diesel A-Class went from 20 to 80 km an hour in 7 seconds, while 40 to 100 took just a little over 9 seconds. Now, the diesel A-Class weighs a full 110 kilograms more than the petrol A-Class, which, to a great extent, explains why the 0 to 100 time is 11.29 seconds. The motor itself is quite enthusiastic and spins past 4000 RPM with only the slightest hesitation. As the revs climb, you do get more punch, the engine pulls cleanly, but the thing is that the motor does get more vocal as you get closer to the red line. When you're in the mood for a bit of fun, you can use the sport mode. In this mode, the gearbox shifts down earlier for a more responsive and direct feel. This really feels like a very snug little hatchback, a very personal space. You'd want to spend your time here. And this front-wheel drive Merc does feel quite special from the driver's seat. Now the A-Class has a slightly sporty suspension setup, feels a bit firmer, and it has these 17-inch rims which really give it a lot of grip and make it feel quite pointy around corners. It really could do with more power to make it more fun. Body movement is tightly controlled. It ducks nicely into a corner and just goes. Sure, the steering could do with better feel. And of course, there's the obvious thing. What this motor lacks is that extra punch when you want to make an overtaking maneuver without breaking a sweat. Also, if you aren't driving the A-Class fast, some other things will become quite obvious. I was expecting the A-Class to feel a bit sporty firm, and at low speeds it really does feel that way. You can feel the bumps thunking through, but the thing is, as the speeds rise, it just becomes more pliant and more absorbent. And for the record, When driven reasonably, the A-Class will return 11 kilometers per litre in the city and 15 kilometers per litre out on the highway. Now, if you're going to be looking at the practical side of things, just remember, the A-Class's boot won't be able to store too much luggage, especially with the space saver sitting right there, and the rear seats are a bit cramped. The A-Class also misses out on some basic features like climate control, and since this diesel variant is only offered in the lower style trim, it also does without the panoramic sunroof. But as can be expected from a Mercedes, the A-Class is packed with safety features. It has as many as 9 airbags, and its interiors feel top class. And when you step outside, the A-Class's low sculpted form makes you forget about any shortcomings. This car is absolutely, positively stunning. Okay, while I do wish that this grille felt a bit more sturdy, I can't help but admit that it is gorgeous. It looks like a blanket of stars that's just holding up the 3-pointed star in place. And if I could, I would frame it and put it up in my room. And Mercedes is offering this grille on the first 100 A180 CDIs as standard. After that, you're gonna have to order it as an option. And although rearward visibility is hampered by the design, it makes me go wow every time. And that style statement that the A-Class makes takes care of a big chunk of its near 22 lakh rupee price tag. Quite simply, the A-Class, even in the diesel guise, has huge appeal. It looks fantastic. The way it drives just matches your expectations when you look at it from the outside. What is lacking though is punch from the diesel motor. Compared to how it looks, and well, something that costs over 20 lakh rupees, you would like a bit more punch. Instead, what the motor delivers is great everyday drivability. Along with that 7G-tronic gearbox, it is effortless and smooth to drive in city conditions. On the inside, feels like a Merc. Very well built, very plush. So for somebody who's looking to drive day in, day out in city traffic, this would make for a good daily driver. What Mercedes have also done is played around with the options to give the A-Class diesel a price tag that is lower than the A-Class petrol. Makes for quite a sweet deal, doesn't it? But if you're looking for something a bit more practical, then hold on, because Mercedes will be offering the B-Class with a diesel motor very soon. The B-Class is the A-Class's elder, somber, and level-headed sibling. And while it does look smart, it just isn't as sexy on the outside. Yeah. It might look a little boring on the outside, but that shape just gives you this very nice sense of space on the inside. But the B-Class shares its diesel motor with the A-Class. Now the engine is the same as we've seen in the A-Class, but here it suits the B-Class's practical character quite well, so city duty is really not an issue. Of course, you wouldn't really be looking for extra punch driving around a B-Class now, would you? Its suspension has a clearly European bent of mind. It's on the soft side of stiff and gives this tall hatch good body control. It is well mannered through corners and steady even at higher speeds. However, it doesn't have the fun factor of the A-Class. Instead, what it has is the comfort factor. Now the B-Class diesel comes with 16-inch rims that's a size down from the petrol, and that is a big help because it makes the ride more pliant and makes the cabin experience just more comfortable. Mercedes will launch the B-Class diesel in July, and when they do, it is likely to be offered without the sunroof. And that will help Mercedes price it close to the petrol variant. While it is tough to call a 25 lakh rupee hatchback as sensible, the diesel motor's ease in the city and its lower running costs will surely enhance the appeal of the spacious and luxurious B-Class, which definitely makes it the sensible pick of Merc's hatchback range.